Hello students, welcome back to the next section of the chapter life processes. So in our last session we have learnt about the structure of the human respiratory system. So in this session we are going to learn about the mechanism of breathing and respiration in human respiratory system. So first let us learn the breathing process, what's happening during respiration process. So you know now what is the difference between breathing and respiration, right? So respiration is a chemical process, breathing is a physical process. In breathing it is just the exchange of gases happening, but during the respiration process what's happening, there is a chemical reaction happening, that is the food has been broken down to produce energy. So what is breathing? Breathing is the exchange of gases happening by inhaling and exhaling. So one breathe consists of one inhale and one exhale. What is inhale? Inhaling means it is taking air rich in oxygen. We are breathing in the air which is rich in oxygen. And exhale, when we exhale out, we are giving out the air which is rich in carbon dioxide. So when we inhale, we are taking in air which is rich in oxygen. When we are giving out the air, we are giving out the air which is rich in carbon dioxide during exhale. So how does that inhale and exhale process happens? So it will happen by the movement of the ribs and diaphragm in our respiratory system. So you know our respiratory system is located in the chest cavity. So you know that all the soft internal organs will be protected by a bony cage. So even for our lungs it has been protected by a bony cage called as rib cage. As you can see in the picture, there is a rib cage around the lungs. So it will protect the lungs as well as it will help in breathing. So the breathing process happens by the movement of the ribs as well as the sheet of muscles which is lying under that called as diaphragm. So how the air has been sucked inside the lungs is by the expansion of ribs and expansion of diaphragm. So what happens is, so when we are breathing in, what is actually happening is the ribs, muscles of the ribs will be contracting and the ribs will be moving upwards. It will be lifted up. So when the ribs has been lifted up, so it will expanding the space inside the chest is been expanded. So it will increase the volume within the chest cavity. At the same time, what happens to the lungs diaphragm, even that will be pulled down. It will be pulled down. So diaphragm which is in this condition will be pulled down. So even the pulling down of diaphragm also helps in increasing the cavity or space inside the lungs. So the expansion of the ribs as well as the diaphragm helps in increasing the cavity inside the lungs. So at that time what happens, the pressure inside, as you compare this with the physics, what happens inside is air pressure is decreasing. So when air pressure is decreasing, what happens? Pressure outside the body is more, right? Air pressure outside the body is more. So air will move from the region of high pressure area to low pressure area. So air will be sucked inside our lungs. So when the pressure increases or decreases inside the lungs cavity because of the expansion of the ribs and expansion of the diaphragm, it creates a large volume within our chest cavity. So that makes the air to be sucked inside our lungs. So air is getting sucked inside our lungs. That makes the inhaling process. So during inhaling process, we are actually sucking in the air which is rich in oxygen. Then during the exhale process, what's happening? The reverse happen. So what happened during reverse processes, the ribs will come back to its original position. It will be pushed down. So ribs which has been lifted up during inhale process, it will be pushed down. And what happened to the diaphragm? It will again contract. It will be like this, which is in this condition. During inhale, it will be again relaxed and it will go to its original position. So what is happening in this condition is, it is actually trying to push out the air. So the volume inside the chest cavity is decreasing. When the volume inside the chest cavity is decreasing, the air will be pushed out of the body. So that is called as exhale. So during inhale, the ribs are lifted up, diaphragm is pulled down, increase the volume inside the chest cavity, air has been pulled in. During exhale, the ribs will be coming back to its original position, diaphragm will be pushed up and the air will be pushed out of the lung cavity. So that makes one inhale and one exhale. Together it makes one breathe. So where is the air which has been sucked inside through the nostril passings? So I have explained you in the last class how the air will be passed through the respiratory system. It will enter through the nostril. So inside the nostril, the air will be having what you can call air as. How you define air as? Air is a mixture of different gases along with the dust particle, right? So air will contain dust particles. So it is dangerous if the dust particle enter into your lungs. So you'll have some kind of breathing problem. So how that has been controlled is when you breathe in the air through the nostril, inside your nose, you can find some small hair-like structure, as well as the lining of your nose will produce some kind of mucus. So what is the function of this hair-like structure and the mucus is to trap this dust particle which is there along with the air. So that dust particle will not enter into your lungs. It will be trapped within your nostrils. So it will be cleaned. So the clean air then will be entering into your lungs. So it will pass through the nostril and it will pass through the nasal passage, as you can see there, nasal passage, and then to the pharynx, and then it will enter into the trachea to bronchus, bronchus to bronchioles, and finally the bronchiole is ending up with an alveoli. So you can find millions of alveoli in our lungs. So finally the air is reaching the end of the respiratory system, that is the alveoli. So in the alveoli, I said it's a place where the exchange of gases takes place. So how the exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli, let us see. So if I take the alveoli, alveoli is surrounded by blood capillaries. So what you can see in the red and blue color lines are blood capillaries. So as you know, the blue color lines are just says that it is deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood means blood which contains carbon dioxide, and the red color line says it is oxygenated blood which is rich in oxygen. So all the alveoli will be completely surrounded by a rich supply of blood capillaries. So if I take one single alveoli and explain you how the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place here is, so the air is entering through the lungs respiratory system, finally reaching the alveoli. So it has been entered the alveoli now. So it will enter the alveoli. So what is happening? Oxygen is entering into the alveoli. So this alveoli is surrounded by the blood capillaries. So here you can see the blue color part which are shown here is a part of the blood capillaries which contain deoxygenated blood, and the red color part of the blood capillaries is a part of the blood capillary which contain oxygenated blood. So as the oxygen is being entering into here, what happens as the blood passes through the blood capillary, what happens is the blood capillaries is bringing the carbon dioxide rich air from the different part of the body. It is getting the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide rich blood will be passing through this blood capillaries. As it passes through the blood capillaries, this carbon dioxide will be given here, and this oxygen which is being entering here, it will be taken by our blood cells. So here the exchange of gases is happening. So carbon dioxide from a blood cell is given into the cavity of alveoli, and oxygen which is entering, the air which is rich in oxygen, so the oxygen from that air will be taken up by our blood cells. So here the blood cell is exchanging the gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen gases. So now the cells are being oxygenated, and that will be carried to a heart, and from there it will be circulated to different parts of the body. So this is the most important part happening in our respiratory system. Hope it's clear for you. Once again I'll explain you. Now you understood what is inhaling and exhaling process, right? So inhaling process is taking air rich in oxygen. Exhaling is giving out air rich in carbon dioxide. So that inhaling and exhaling happens by the movement of the ribs and diaphragm. So during inhaling, the ribs is expanding, diaphragm is pulled down, volume increases, air will be sucked in. During exhalation, the ribs will be brought back to its original position, diaphragm is pushed up, and the volume of the lungs will be reduced, and the air will be pushed out. So during that process, the air is passing through the respiratory system, throughout the respiratory system. Finally it reaches the alveoli. In the alveoli, exchange of gases takes place. So alveoli is surrounded by the blood capillaries. So blood will be carrying the deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood means the blood which contains carbon dioxide will be carried to the alveoli, that will be carried to the lungs for purification purpose. So that blood which is coming into the lungs is having impure blood or deoxygenated blood. As it passes through the alveoli, when it reaches the alveoli, it will exchange the gases. The blood cell which contain carbon dioxide will be giving out the carbon dioxide to the alveoli, and the air which is there, which has been entering into the alveoli by inhaling process, that will be given to the blood cells. So now the blood cells will be having oxygenated blood, so it will be rich in oxygen now. So that oxygenated blood will be then carried to a heart, and from the heart it will be circulated to different parts of the body. What happened to the carbon dioxide which is filled in the alveoli now? It has to be removed from our lungs. So it can be removed by exhaling out. So when we breathe out or during the exhalation process, the carbon dioxide is removed from our lungs. So carbon dioxide is harmful to our body if it is getting accumulated. So it has to be removed by exhalation process. So here how is actually the carbon dioxide and oxygen exchange happening is by diffusion process. I said you what is diffusion? It's a process of movement of molecule from the region of higher concentration towards the region of lower concentration. So when the blood is coming from the body part through the blood capillaries, it is rich in carbon dioxide. So that means this much blood is having carbon dioxide rich. So here what is the air you have? It is oxygen rich. So what is more here? Carbon dioxide is more here. So from the region of higher concentration, carbon dioxide enter into the region of lower concentration, and reverse happens here. The air which is entering into the alveoli is rich in oxygen. Oxygen is less here. So from the region of higher concentration, oxygen will be entering into the region of lower concentration. So just by simple diffusion method, the oxygen and carbon dioxide has been exchanged, and it will be supplied to all parts of the body through our blood. So this completes one, the respiration of human beings. There is some more thing will be asked in the exam. That is, RBC, our blood cell contain RBC. See what I am shown here in the spherical form is the RBC cells. I said you this RBC cell will be having hemoglobin pigment, right? Hemoglobin pigment. So this hemoglobin is combining with oxygen, and it is being carried to it will be carrying the oxygen to different parts of the body. So here I said hemoglobin is our respiratory pigment which will help in carrying the oxygen. So how it is carrying is when hemoglobin can bind with oxygen. So we have two respiratory gases, which are those? One is oxygen, another one is carbon dioxide. So this oxygen will be binding with hemoglobin. So oxygen have more affinity than carbon dioxide. So oxygen will bind fast towards the hemoglobin. So it will combine with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. It forms oxyhemoglobin. So that oxyhemoglobin will be then carried through the blood to different parts of the body, where it will be used for respiration process. That is to break down the food to produce energy. But if at all you are living in an atmosphere which has been polluted, where there is a polluted air, polluted air contain the most dangerous poisonous gas called as carbon monoxide gas, right? So it will contain carbon monoxide as well as it will have some oxides of nitrogen, sulfur, etc., etc. But here carbon monoxide is very much dangerous because our hemoglobin, though it can combine with oxygen, it have little more affinity towards carbon monoxide than towards oxygen. So if it is the air is rich in carbon monoxide, your hemoglobin, instead of carrying oxygen, it may carry carbon monoxide. It may combine with carbon monoxide. So if you are living in a polluted area, you are not getting enough amount of oxygen because your hemoglobin is not combining with oxygen, it will combine with carbon monoxide. So then if the percentage of carbon monoxide in your blood increase a bit more than a 5 ppm, then you will have the breathing diseases, you will have breathing difficulty, and the person may even die if it has not been treated properly. So in the exam you may get a question like this also. Oxygen have more affinity towards which of the gases, whether it's oxygen or carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. So first it is towards carbon monoxide, second is oxygen, and carbon dioxide very rarely. Carbon dioxide, how the carbon dioxide is carried in a blood cell is not by combining with the hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide will be dissolved in the blood plasma. Carbon dioxide will be dissolved in a blood plasma. Blood contains 4 components: plasma, RBC, WBC and platelets. So plasma is a liquid form of a liquid part of the blood. So carbon dioxide usually will be in the combined form with the plasma, and oxygen will combine with the RBC cell of a blood. But if there is carbon monoxide, instead of combining with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, it combines with carbon monoxide to form carboxyhemoglobin. So here totally you may get any questions from what I have explained here. Along with that, you may get questions like what is the function of each and every part of this respiratory system. So in every system in life process chapter, whether it is digestive system or respiratory system or excretory system, any system, they are going to ask you the functions of each and every part of the system. So here if I take the respiratory system, what is the function of nostril? I said you, nostril will be having hair-like structure and mucus. So that fine hair-like structure and mucus help in trapping the dust particle which is there in the air. So it will help in filtering the air and allowing the purified air to enter into our lungs. Then what is the next part you can see is trachea. What is the function of trachea? So you can see trachea is having ring-like bones, cartilaginous bones. So what is the function of that trachea surrounded by that ring-like cartilaginous bones? The function of that one is to prevent the collapsing of the air pipe. So as we breathe in or when we suck in the air, so there is a chance of the trachea, that is windpipe, to collapse like this, right? So that can be prevented by the help of trachea. Then what is the function of epiglottis? I have already mentioned you. So there is a common passage called as pharynx for entry of air and food. Both has been entering through the pharynx, and later from here the pharynx has been divided into the food pipe and windpipe. So between the food pipe and windpipe there is a muscular sheet like structure I said called as epiglottis. So epiglottis will be located somewhere here. So this will prevent the entry of food into our windpipe when we have the food. Then we have rib cages. Function of rib cage is to help in breathing in and breathing out. So it will, when it has been lifted up, air has been entered into the lung cavity. When it has been brought down, when it has been pushed down, it will be releasing out the air. Even the diaphragm's function is the same. So when the diaphragm has been pulled down, air enters into the lungs, and when the diaphragm has been pushed up, it will be leaving out the lung system. And function of alveoli, you know, as it is help in exchange of gases. So it is having a thin wall. So thin wall of the alveoli actually helps in the easy diffusion of respiratory gases. So these are the function of the different parts of the respiratory system. So as much as possible after each and every topics, you can go through the multiple choice questions coming in the sample papers, or you will get some sample questions from the Google also. So try to see the what kind of questions have been asked there. If you just go through that, you can come to know the questions are not easy. It is a bit of confusing type of answers you can see. So try to solve the answers from those sample papers. So this will be the end of this session. So the next session we are going to discuss about the transportation system. So we'll meet in the next session. Thank you.